We have arrived at the full moon and the pivot point in our month about writing, where we move from thinking about clarity and prose to thinking about poetry and mystery. These dualistic qualities that come together to make up compelling writing and compelling art. I tried to prepare for this video, and every time I attempted to gather my thoughts and order them, it all just felt like it was slipping through my fingers. I think that there's actually something appropriate about that as we move from clarity into mystery. There is a bravery that is required to step into the void when we have no idea what is going to meet us there. That space of uncertainty might not just have threatening things in it. It might also carry great blessings. Over the past couple weeks, I have really felt the power of clarity. That focus and feeling like I had that solidity empowered me to make some big moves that had been, I think, an undercurrent of possibility in my life for a while, but which I hadn't been bold enough to take action on. Journaling and thinking and writing gave me the space to hear my own thoughts. And I'm feeling really proud of myself about that, because it's a hard thing to initiate change when you don't know how it's going to turn out. But it's been a funny thing, because throughout the past fortnight, I could also feel this deep pull towards poetry. I wanted to slip into a more mystical space where words and meaning can be a little bit looser, and a space really where there's room for magic is how I think about it. So I'm excited to be here. But now that I'm here, I'm also a little bit nervous, because mystery is the place where we surrender control. Maybe it's more accurate to say that we recognize the limits of our own control and acknowledge these bigger forces that were always there, whether we were choosing to surrender to them or not. It's a place where we try to find a way to float with the current rather than fight against it. I think it's also a place where we plant seeds for the future when we don't know how things are going to turn out. I wasn't really sure how personal I wanted to get in this video, but this fortnight for me feels deeply personal. The whole idea for The Total Artist came out of a time in my life when everything had exploded. I was still recovering from having had cancer twice, and my marriage ended. And figuring out how to find some sort of solid ground felt absolutely impossible. I felt like I was in free fall. And there is an extent to which that is still very much true for me. At the beginning, it was really the fear and the pain and all of those negative emotions that really dominated. Now, having had a chance to catch my breath a little bit, I'm now looking for the places where possibility also lives, where the unknown becomes a space for something beautiful to grow. The reason why I think poetry is such a powerful way to explore this is we have the freedom to detach language from meaning to some extent. We can use it as symbols. We can lay out language for how it looks on the page, or connect words that don't seem to make sense together and yet somehow create a paradox that points to a deeper truth. We can respond to the sounds and the rhythms of language rather than just the semantics of the words. And that is a really profound kind of meaning making. I have reached to poetry at the most challenging times in my life. When I was in cancer treatment was this moment of revival for me, really. I'd written poems when I was quite young, but it had sort of fallen by the wayside for me. And I think it was actually due to the effects of chemotherapy that I started again, because there's an effect called chemo brain. Chemo affects all your nerves, including your brain, and it can make you a bit fuzzy-headed. And I really struggled to conceptualize the plot of a play or hold a narrative arc in my head, but I could sit with these fragments of experience. And it was amazing to me to discover that even though my logical brain was unquestionably impaired, the creative, symbolic brain was still active. And I wrote some stuff during that time that I really like, that is deeply meaningful to me and can capture truth even when I didn't necessarily have access to the faculties that would enable a more conventional structure. I think there can be something really freeing about letting ourselves go into flow with language. Poetry can stem beautifully from automatic writing. We start with the flow. Then after that, there is often the distillation, where you take the material and you boil it down to the most compelling, most essential part. It really does feel like a polishing quality. I'm thinking of river rocks or sea glass, things that have been touched by water so repeatedly that they're transformed. That's what editing can feel like with poetry, for me anyway. Or it's like tinkering with, I don't know, maybe an old radio or something, and you get these fun little surprises of like, oh, that's a station I hadn't heard, by just tuning it and trying and experimenting. I think poetry and mystery make room for the kind of knowing that exists in our bodies rather than our brains. There is space and respect for somatic experience when language does not need to be orderly or logical. So for this next fortnight, as we think about poetry, as we think about mystery, what I'm going to do and invite you to do with me is think about how language can be used in ways that have nothing to do with literal meaning. How artistic or creative or wild can you be with words? You can jot just a few words in 5 minutes while you're, I don't know, waiting to pick something up in line at the post office. You can notice these fragments, these pieces of beauty or curiosity or darkness or rage or liberation in the world around you, and just capture that moment without any pressure to contextualize or explain. Sometimes life does not make sense, and sometimes art should not make sense, because that is how we honor those parts of our lives. And that's also how we build something beautiful out of whatever adversity we face, and open the door for grace that we cannot yet see or comprehend, but can find us if we're willing to exist in that space and be open to it. I think the key to enjoy this is to give yourself permission to do it badly. It doesn't need to be deep or compelling or amazing. It just needs to be there. And when we release that pressure, it can really help get us into the state of flow. This is a chance to cultivate that, and a chance to challenge ourselves to remove our self-censorship, to remove our self-judgment, and just let the words pour onto the page. You don't have to show them to anyone. It's private, but don't step out of that cocoon yet and think about, where would I publish this? What would my mother think? This can be a space that's just for you for right now. And give yourself permission to have it. Give yourself permission to surprise yourself, because that's one of the most fun parts of it, I think. Thanks for joining me. Happy writing. I'm grateful to you for watching, because art is always more fun when we make it together.